Hello everyone, this is Steve with Aptera Owners Club. Several days ago, Aptera put out this news release on their website talking about some new agreements that they made with Chery Automotive Company, basically. So Aptera leadership Chris Anthony and Jim Choo recently sat down with China Global Television Network to discuss the future of solar mobility of Asia Pacific. Probably meant to say discuss the future of solar mobility of the Asia Pacific region and the formation of a strategic supply agreement with Chery Automotive Company, enabling collaboration and access to the automaker's established supply chain. So this is the key. They got into an agreement with Chery Automotive Company so that they can get access to the supply chain of Chery Automotive Company. So Chery Automotive Company is a pretty large company in China, and this agreement is not surprising given that Jim Choo is part of Aptera and his background. So if you remember back from September 2021, Aptera announced that Jim Choo was hired as CEO of Asia Pacific Operations. I really didn't know what that meant. Like if they were planning to expand to Asia and start building Aptera over there, maybe that is kind of in their long-term future. But now that I see this supply chain agreement with Chery Motors, I see what they were thinking basically. So we know that China is a big manufacturing company, and a lot of stuff is manufactured in China. Um, and you need someone over there that knows the supply chain in that region, and that's why they got Jim Choo. And I thought that that's what he was doing, but it's even seems like it's even simpler than that. He used to be the vice president of product development at Chery Jaguar Land Rover in Shanghai, China. So he was part of Chery Automotive Group. And then they basically just made an agreement with the Chery Automotive Company, and then it gives them access to all their suppliers. So now they can go to Chery and say, hey, like we need someone that I'm guessing, like makes the interior parts, the door trim or something like that. Like, do you guys have a supplier that does that? And then they can get access to that. And it would be pretty seamless because they already have a relationship with them. They know who's reliable, who's not reliable, who's good, and that kind of stuff. So I wanted to learn a little bit more about Chery Automotive Company. And what I found out is that it is the ninth largest manufacturer in China. So in 2021 it sold about 959,000 vehicles. That is roughly the same amount as Tesla or Nissan. So I mean that's a large amount of cars. So that means that they know how to make cars and they have suppliers that can supply them in volume. So their suppliers should have no problem supplying a much smaller outfit like Aptera. Interestingly, BYD is number 10. So we know BYD is the largest electric car manufacturer in China, and they made 745,000 cars, which is quite a lot. If you look at this, these are their brand names, which most of us won't recognize any of these unless you're from China. But they do have a lot of foreign branded collaborations. So they collaborate with other manufacturers to kind of manufacture the cars in China. And until recently, a foreign car manufacturer had to have an established relationship with a Chinese car manufacturer in order to build and sell cars in China. Now they changed the rules for Tesla, and Tesla does not have to collaborate with anyone. But Chery Automotive, they collaborate with Jaguar and Land Rover, and that's the group that Jim Choo was in charge, like a vice president was Chery Land Rover. Um, so is this a good thing or a bad thing? Oh, the other interesting thing about Chery is that they actually just released this car called the Coston EC1, which is their first kind of EV. This is back from July 29, 2021. Cute little EV here, two-door. I think it's a two-seater. Maybe it's a four-seater. I don't know. Probably a four-seater, actually, knowing how these cars are made. But the price is ridiculous. See, they were saying that it's $4,600. Now, that's very similar to this Wuling Mini EV. We talked about that in the previous Chinese car video. And then the Wuling is made by this company, which is the largest company in China. See, they make the Wuling brand. Yeah, so I don't know if these are being sold in China right now. I imagine they are. Would be interesting. Even with the 30% import tax, uh, and shipping the thing over here, you could theoretically sell this thing for under $10,000 in America if that is truly the price, if $5,000 is the price. It probably would not meet US safety standards, so I don't know how they would sell it. It's like a 35 the engine has a power of 25 kilowatts, which is kind of like 35 horsepower, I believe, and uses lithium iron phosphate batteries, which makes sense. Okay, so anyways, is this a good thing that they've gotten in a supply chain with Chery Automotive? So there's good points and bad points to it. The good point is that they have one of their Aptera management team, Choo, who is very familiar with the company because he used to work with them. And so he probably has a very good relationship with them and kind of knows how it works. And he probably brokered this deal. And it does give them access to reliable suppliers that know how to manufacture car parts and can deliver in volume. So that's great. Now the potential bad sides are Chery has been known in the past to copy their copy cars. I think that this was a problem for a lot of Chinese companies early on, but it's probably less of a problem now because Chinese research and development have basically caught up to the world, um, and I don't think they really need to copy anymore to do things. And I, d- I don't know. It's a little bit. It's always a little bit of a gamble getting into a relationship with a company that has a history of copying, especially Aptera's main product is their intellectual property. Okay, so that's one potential downside. The other potential downside is that you guys remember Huawei was a big telecom su supplier, and the US basically put a ban on working with Huawei. So if you're a major US company, you cannot work with Huawei, and especially if you're a government contractor, you can't work with Huawei, and the government itself won't buy Huawei products because they were afraid that Huawei had some relationship with the Chinese government, and of course, our relationship with the Chinese government is a little bit contentious in the West. Um, and so Huawei is banned, so you can't really work with Huawei. Chery Automotive is actually not a company with a relationship with the government. It is a government-run company. The Chinese government runs this company essentially. So there is a chance that if the relationship got more contentious between the U.S. and China, that there may be a ban on working with state-owned companies like Chery Automotive that could shut down the supply chain. Of course, I think if the foreign policy degraded to the point where that happened, then something major has happened, like China's invaded Taiwan. Like, for example, like we've basically cut ties with all Russian businesses, and you can't work with Russian businesses. They're locked off. So if it were to degrade to that point, I think getting an Aptera would probably be the least of our problems. We'd have bigger problems as a nation and as people individually, being in a world that's degraded to that point. So that is another potential problem, though. But it just could be that they put a ban on working with state-owned companies, of which Chery is one, and that's the potential downside. So potential downsides are potential disruption that is dependent on the geopolitical relationship of the U.S. and China, and potential copying issues. But the pluses are that it does give them a reliable, robust supply chain access, which is really important. It's probably a pretty safe bet because I don't think the relationship's going to degrade much, and I don't think that they would be copying Aptera at this point. Um, so overall, I think it's good news, and especially since Aptera recently announced that they have up to 20,000 reservations, they're going to need to have a really robust supply chain to deliver vehicles. All right, well, tell me what you guys think in the comments about this collaboration, and thanks for watching and have a great day.